Hey everyone, Pugs here with 3 new reviews for y'all. Today I'm covering Season 5's third trio of episodes, Money Talks, SpongeBob vs. the Patty Gadget, and Slimy Dancing. I always forget that 2 of these episodes are part of this trio since I always forget how short Money Talks is, and I just generally forget Slimy Dancing is in Season 5. I feel like that's the only really interesting thing I can say in this introductory segment though, so I'll just move on to saying thank you to everyone watching the video today, and to anyone who has left comments or left a like, and with that, let's just get right into it. Starting off this trio of episodes is Money Talks. There really isn't much for me to say about this one. I even rewatched it the other day and I still have very little. Like I said in the intro, I frequently forget that this is a short episode, being 7 minutes long. Sure, it's enjoyable, but it's not super striking, which is one of the reasons why I don't have very much to say. It takes a little bit of time for Money Talks to get moving, but I did think it was pretty funny as well as horrible that Mr. Krabs kicked out those older customers just for an extra $5. But hey, this is the same crab that sold SpongeBob's soul for 62 cents. We been knew that Mr. Krabs is rather unscrupulous. And I love how when Mr. Krabs is like, Money Talks, SpongeBob yells at the money like, what do you have against old people? That was pretty funny. Though I also think it's funny how this episode is based on the saying Money Talks, because I'm pretty sure that's more referring to how people who only have money are always flaunting it, since wealth whispers, as the rest of the saying goes. So there's a mismatch in sayings here, though I'm pretty sure I've also seen people say Money Talks in the way Mr. Krabs is using it here, so I'm basically yapping for no reason. Let me move on. So, I love how innocent SpongeBob is in this episode. It makes his dynamic with Mr. Krabs work nicely, because I like when Mr. Krabs takes on a fatherly/instructional role like this. Yes, I am counting this as my Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob father-son crumbs. What about it? I also love that we kind of have a little bit of continuity with Squidward being all like, oh great, when Mr. Krabs starts to sing. I guess this isn't necessarily like plot continuity, but like joke continuity, since Mr. Krabs did something similar in Selling Out, I believe. Speaking of Mr. Krabs singing, I actually quite liked his little song here. They're underrated as all get out, but I actually find that Mr. Krabs' little songs are usually pretty good, having the whole pirate/sea shanty sound to it combined with a surprisingly good singing voice from Clancy Brown. Additionally, there were fun little gags throughout this song as well, making it even better to watch. Suddenly, we get my boy the Flying Dutchman. Y'all know I love me some Flying Dutchman, and his interactions with Mr. Krabs are always lots of fun to watch. I love how the Flying Dutchman is both a random ghost but also our proxy for the devil in this show. He's adaptable like that. And then I love how nonchalant Mr. Krabs is about selling his soul. Considering the reveal we get at the end of this episode, that lack of reaction makes a lot of sense. Now that the money starts talking, I love their attitude, and I love how we get a kind of repeat but still hilarious of an interaction we've seen before with SpongeBob worrying about Mr. Krabs and Squidward worrying about his paycheck. Yes, this exact joke has been done before, at least twice I'm pretty sure, but hey, it works every time. I also think that it's pretty great that this episode is against greed, as the money is all like, spend us, and I love how Mr. Krabs gives into the demands basically immediately. We also get a gorgeous background alert during this scene, don't think I forgot about that, and the whole scene with Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob is hilarious. I love how Mr. Krabs has a moment of insanity, or perhaps clarity, but then instantly demands his money back. And then we get the ending of this episode, which is hilarious. The way the Dutchman just pulls out an IOU is hilarious, and it just gets funnier and funnier as the line of ghosts and demons waiting to get Mr. Krabs' soul goes on, with the final reveal of SpongeBob being at the very end. The fact that Mr. Krabs' soul is apparently worth $5 is hilarious, and now that I'm thinking about it, it might just be brilliant, because that's the exact amount of money it took to bribe him to kick out the old people earlier. Money Talks is simply an enjoyable episode. It's got some pretty great jokes throughout, and is an entertaining episode to watch. While it just misses out on having that wow factor needed to be in my amazing tier, it certainly fits perfectly into my great tier, where it comes in with a score of 8.7 out of 10. Up next is an episode that is also going to inspire a short review, SpongeBob vs. the Patty Gadget. From what I've seen, this episode is considered to be the best of the Season 5 4-minute shorts, beating out Rise and Shine, Boat Smart, and an episode I haven't reviewed yet, The Krusty Plate. I mean, I can't speak on that last one yet, but I will say that the reputation of SpongeBob vs. the Patty Gadget is well earned. One thing I really like about SpongeBob vs. the Patty Gadget is its structure, with the rhyming narration and, actually, the narration period, since this episode is meant to be a legendary tale. This makes the episode stand out immediately, and shows how the creatives behind this one really made use of the short runtime of this episode to do something a bit different. Within the narration, there's plenty of funny moments, such as the bad face acne comment. And Patchy's narration is just so expressive and well done, so everyone say thank you Tom Kenny. The narration elevates the entertainment quality of this episode as it helps to build the tension and raise the stakes of the action. I also like that the dialogue between characters was fit into the rhymes as well. Just very well crafted vibes here. I love it. Thinking about it, SpongeBob vs. the Patty Gadget reminds me a lot of Pickles because of the duel between SpongeBob and the machine, which is of course meant to evoke that same high noon rivalry that Pickles did. This episode also has some fun visuals as well, like the face that SpongeBob makes in the window is hilarious, and also a reaction meme that I do use from time to time, and I love that we get a Patty War in this episode, and the duel between SpongeBob and the Patty Gadget is super cool and fun to watch. I also like the inclusion of other characters in this episode, like Sandy and Patrick. SpongeBob's determination in the face of automation, oh god, the rhyming is starting to infect me as well, is also really fun to watch, and is also still quite relevant today, if not more so. I'm telling y'all, this show has commentary on labor relations, you have to believe me. And then I love the fake out we get of SpongeBob possibly dying at the end of the duel, as it turns out that the grave everyone is at is just the Patty Gadgets. SpongeBob dancing on the grave is legitimately hilarious, like, good for him, let him be a bit smug. That's all there really is to say about SpongeBob vs. the Patty Gadget. I really like this episode a lot. It's a fun little short that's really enjoyable to watch and then rewatch again and again. I love the rhyming gimmick of this episode, and I love the duel as well as the ending. There's nothing else to say. This episode clearly deserves to be in my amazing tier, where it comes in with a score of 9.1 out of 10. The last episode of the 88 trio is Slimy Dancing. So y'all remember how in the intro I said I often forget that this episode is in season 5? Yeah, that's because I always mix this episode up with I Heart Dancing, without fail. Every time I think about this episode, I fully expect to see Squilliam. Even when I rewatched this episode a couple weeks ago, it was the same thing. But anyway, I like that this episode is about Squidward's dancing hobby, because I feel like that's something we haven't really looked at in a while, and I always love a good hobby exploration to round out our characters. That's also why Slimy Dancing and I Heart Dancing being relatively close together in this series is funny and also confusing, considering that Squidward's dancing hobby hardly receives this much attention. Slimy Dancing starts off well enough. I liked the beginning montage of all the ways that Squidward has improved his dancing. I thought that it was fun. And then when SpongeBob and Patrick enter the scene playing Limbo, that got me thinking about how I haven't played Limbo in a very long time. I also just liked how in general SpongeBob and Patrick were planning on entering the dancing competition as well without Squidward's intervention. It adds more depth to their own characters and their relationship with the town and the kind of activities they get up to off screen. It's nice to see them involved in something outside of jellyfishing, Glove World, and the Krusty Krab, you know? And to go back to the Limbo game for a second, I love how they made a gag out of it. It was even funnier the second time around. Squidward's perfectly egotistical and pompous in this episode, just the way I like him, which means that all of the L's he takes are quite gratifying. His dance performance was really fun to watch, and as someone who is cultured, Reed has gone to college-level dance productions, I can tell he's being more pretentious than anything. I'm just kidding, I know nothing about dance. I also love that once Squidward gets kicked the hell out of the audition, we get a third rendition of the Limbo gag. Gotta love the rule of threes. Patrick is also hilarious in this episode, although the poor guy gets repaid with a horrendous butt cramp. Speaking of that cramp, I also really liked that running gag. I thought it had great timing, and it was a great way to end the episode too, but I'll get there in a bit. I thought the whole bit with Squidward telling SpongeBob that art is how suffering was pretty funny too, and it reminded me a lot of Artist Unknown, with Squidward taking all the joy out of SpongeBob's art because of his own misery, which, incidentally, is kind of the plot of I Heart Dancing as well. The way that Squidward ends up inside of SpongeBob's body is hilarious and an unexpected direction for this episode, but I like it. Is this Squidward Tentacle Pants 2.0? SpongeBob with Squidward's limbs is such an interesting design to me, and as we move on to the actual competition, I liked all the previous previews, we got of the other contestants' acts. I really liked the coin guy who was doing magic while dancing, and then we got a lovely repeat of Culture Shock with nobody liking Squidward's dancing, and I love how everyone comes back when Squidward's literally dying from pain. It's hilarious. The way the cramps are visually portrayed in this episode is so accurate to how they feel. Like, I'm serious. I get those awful calf cramps every so often, and they are horrendous, so I can relate. Once Squidward gets revealed to the audience and SpongeBob and Squidward get disqualified, my immediate question becomes, how did SpongeBob and Patrick get through to the finals then? I choose to ignore this in favor of seeing how literally every other contestant cheated their way to the top because it's funny. It's even funnier because none of these people had to reveal the truth, but they did anyway. I also really love how this episode has an epilogue for essentially no reason. Like, it's really only here for what I'm assuming are time purposes, but it doesn't matter to me because this epilogue is hilarious. I love how we cut to a random house with a random kid and we find out that Patrick's dance has become a dance fad. I feel like this ending is even funnier in light of TikTok. I also love how this epilogue includes Mr. Krabs for no reason. Like, why is he even here? Like, Clancy Brown was just in the studio that day and they were like, hey, you want to record yourself laughing, saying, yeah, I'm grunting in pain real quick? Slimy Dancing in general was pretty good, although I didn't think it was super funny. Also, it felt shorter than it actually was. This isn't a good or bad thing in the case of this episode, it was just something that I noticed. I'd say that this episode fits nicely in my great tier, where it comes in with a score of 8.3 out of 10. As always, I'll be ending this video with some closing thoughts of mine. So, I think that I had mistakenly thought that Season 5 only had 3 episode trios. I was wrong. It has 4. I'm pretty sure I said that during one of the reviews of an episode trio, so I guess I have embarrassed myself on the internet yet again. Oh well. I feel like all 3 of these episodes are episodes that I didn't have a lot to say about. They're just good and solid, and there's not much for me to specifically point at and say, or if there was, it wasn't anything I could expound on for very long, and that's perfectly fine. Sometimes things just turn out like that. I just find it funny that an entire episode block is like this, especially because there are 3 separate episodes in that episode block. And to stay on theme, I suppose, I gotta say that there's no other closing thoughts I really have for y'all. So I'll just end the review here, and I'll see y'all in the next one.